Okay, so this is the Drupal UX meeting for August 9th, 2016, and in some parts of the world, August 10th, 2016.
Yep.
And in some parts of the world, August 9th, 2016.
Because that's how we roll.
Yeah, I thought it would just be correct in all sides. Okay. So I think we wanted to look at the outside-in patch later once entry may be available, and then there's a list of other things that are lined up here. Any preference on which one we start with?
You're looking at the 3 ones in the Google Doc, I think?
Possibly, yeah. I was looking at the channel history.
Okay, yeah. So we had let's try and so the new theme one, the camera thing you reviewed, Gabor, and the outside in. That were the 3. Yeah. Let's do the camera thing.
Yeah, so I can talk about the camera thing. So the camera thing, the issue, once I find the issue number, I'm going to recite that verbally. So it's 2307451. And the original issue was to enable file upload fields to launch the camera on phones, because that would allow you to quickly take a photo and upload that. And turns out that the feature that we were trying to implement, actually, it does launch the camera, but it restricts you from doing anything else. So you cannot actually upload a file that you did not take with your camera. So somebody did some extensive testing and uploaded a list of different file fields with different markup on the issue that you can test on your devices. I just confirmed with their results with my device, which is an Android 6 something. And indeed, it seems like the thing we tried to implement is not actually the thing that we wanted to implement. So the problem that remains there, I guess, is the file upload, the image upload field. When you hit upload, it still allows you to take a video, which is incompatible with an image upload field, right? So what we can do there is we can tell the device that we only accept images and not video, and then it will not let you launch into recording a video. It will only let you browse your existing files or take a photo. So that's the patch that I uploaded, which is basically a simplified version of what was already there. So it's a much smaller version of the patch. Now only deals with limiting the type of stuff to upload. It's non-configurable. There's no UI to configure because it's only on the image field, and image fields take images. So you know, there's nothing to configure about them taking images. Yeah, that's it. It's a tiny UX improvement now.
So for that issue, do we need to make like a decision, or do we just move forward? Because it seems like your solution kind of resolved it.
Yeah, I think so. So if that seems like a good solution, then...
Is this something we can still get in? Because I don't think it was tagged by the target.
I think
No,
Angie highlighted this because somebody worked on it on a sprint and did a good deep dive on the possibilities. I think basically we bless it and we move on. It's not a big one in processor needs design.
Yeah, sorry. I was on another call, but I'm back now. Yeah, I just wanted to raise this because I know, excuse me, there were people working on this at Dev Days Milan, and it was kind of like one of the big media type patches that got worked on there. I wasn't actually at that event,
Okay.
so I don't know much about it, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of circle back. It seemed like something that would be of interest to this group, and I sat with Ryan while he was doing all this and kind of looked at his phone, looked at my phone. Seemed like a good direction to me to go for the middle ground rather than your entire device thing. And I think all he would probably want is just like a little bit of like, yep, thanks for the research, that sounds good to me, plus kind of encouragement, you know, nothing too big from there.
Yeah, so this was work done in Milan, and then it was work done at Drupal Corn last weekend. So it's after 2 sprints of heavily being worked on. So I guess if we can get it in some form as an improvement, then those efforts would be less and recognized and whatever, you know, all of those things.
So does it need input from the UX team? Apart from, yay, nice to have, please do.
I don't think it does. So
No.
what it does is now on an image field, you will not get a camcorder possibility to record a video. So it will be better. It's similar to how on a phone field you would get a number pad, and on an email field you would get a sign and .com button and stuff like that. So it basically adapts the UI to what you can actually do on the field. That's what it does. So I think all it needs is a UX approval plus whatever, say yay and.
Okay. I'll do that.
So while we are at this one, the other small thing that I reviewed that would be nice is the Ajax Throbber implementation with the 7 design that Angie also reviewed last week with Aaron Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And that link is here. And I think it was WebChicken or Christian last week, so either Boyan or Nor Yoroi could look at it. So if you have any feedback on that, that would be valuable. I think it just implements what was designed.
Yeah, I thought we had like a super big issue about this. I'm not sure if that ever got in. Do you remember that?
I don't know.
An issue about changing the throbber, or just like somebody had issues?
I remember there being an issue to implement this, but it might have, I don't know, might have stopped somewhere. Let me look at my my QQ. Try and find it.
There's like 500 search results at least.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Even if there's a big backstory.
Sorry, this one.
Okay.
Because I think the icon we're using there is different. So.
This one meaning you pasted something.
Oh, sorry, I pasted something in Slack.
No.
So update Drupal icon and use it.
Yeah.
Which uses a different style, so I'm not 100% sure which one is the correct one, first of all.
Well, so what Aaron is implementing is the one in the 7 style guide,
Yeah.
and the other one is not. But I see that somehow.
I'm not sure if that was a deliberate decision or not.
I don't know. I like this one, the new one, better. But it doesn't count, right?
Yeah, I guess it's mostly. I mean, I think the other one looks fine as well. I think
it's 4 months ago. That's not that old.
No, I think it's reasonable to at least look at the other issue.
Yes.
Because it does a lot with the actual implementation of it, which might be worthwhile to do. Yeah, that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah. So what I did in the patch there is I updated the modernizer library to include SVG support, and based on if there's an SVG available on your server, then it'll either load the SVG, and if there isn't one, then it just defaults to the animated GIF fallback. So that's kind of an overview on the actual ticket there. And I also used, rather than an animated SVG, we're using CSS3 for the animations.
Fancy.
And the SVGs are, there's a little bit of animation on the actual SVG, but again, that's all done through pure CSS. So I think this is more of a extensible solution, I guess. The throbbers are about 200 pixels wide and tall, and so that should help scaling if you needed to make it 80 or whatever. So SVGs obviously can be resized to any size, where the GIF will start to pixelate a little bit after 200 pixels. So that's just the default.
Yeah. So I think in terms of moving forward, it makes sense to at least cross-reference in the other issue.
I just did.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I said compare with the other one and decide on which design and which implementation to move forward with.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, in terms of design, I think we can give it a thumbs up. It does implement I remember the one in the other issue was chemical and artifacts. I don't think it was part of the style guide per se.
Right.
So yeah, we can easily move forward with this one.
Okay.
Cool. Very cool. Nice work.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we postponed on discussing the hard ones enough now.
Yeah.
No, this was useful. So.
For this one, I'm not sure who we should ask to review, but definitely Scott should review it. I'm not
I guess,
sure.
yeah. Eventually, maybe somebody else could do it before.
Yeah, maybe there's a few active people in that issue, so they might be interested. Like Jay Wilson is active there. He might be interested as well. Yeah, I'll try and reach out to Jay Wilson and see if he wants to review.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Alright.
It's good stuff. So let's move to the hard stuff then.
Is that my stuff or? Usually.
Which one is harder, the setting or the new theme?
Let's do the new. Well, the new theme I attempt. Okay, I can explain that. Let me find the issue real quick. Let's see. Where did you go? Here we go. So, this is probably ultimately like a community working group issue and not an issue for the UX team, but I did want to raise it because the UX team has successfully put a new theme, or at least made a drastic design change to an existing theme in core, and that maybe you might have some advice for these folks. So the background on this issue is Bartik has been in core since 2009 as the default theme. That's about 5 years. And it's fine, but like web design has kind of evolved since then, and so there's a group of people who would really like to make a new default theme. This was originally an initiative for Drupal 8, but it didn't end up happening because the initiative lead had some personal issues, which is totally fair. But there's a contingent of people who still want to see this happen. Still want to see a really nicely designed theme that we can be proud of in Drupal 8 to. Both from just like an emotional feel-good standpoint, but also because Drupal 8 and Drupal 7 look visually almost identical out of the box, and so the rationale they give in the issue summary is that they feel like some people might not understand that there are actually huge differences between 7 and 8. So that's the rationale for why they want to do this. And then separately, there's also a discussion happening under the API First initiative to move to a component-based theme system. So in other words, if people are familiar with like Pattern Lab or Atomic Design, let me just pull up a link to that real quick. Atomic Design is like this idea of that you start with an atom, like say the way a button looks, or the way a label works or whatever, and you form those into molecules, which would be like, here's a search button, which has a label, a text box, and a search button thing. And then here's, an organism, which would be like the entire header region that includes the search button, and that's a template, so you use that header region in all the different pages, and then you get down to a page, which is like, all of the design components together. And by moving to a component-based design, it's really easy to make updates to buttons in one place, and then it proliferates throughout the entire design without having to have a lot of copy-pasted code and stuff like that. And plus, if you know what all your components are ahead of time, then it's a lot easier to theme Drupal because you just go down the list of components and then you're done. Blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. So that's the rationale. This issue has taken an unfortunate turn in that the way the people who originally wrote the issue really wanted to go is they really wanted to do this like designer first. They got a bunch of people who know about API things in the theme system, but basically chiefly there to unblock people from doing what they want to do. Unfortunately, it's gotten really mired down in implementation details, including, should this be based on a framework such as Bootstrap or not? Should this be should this be done in contrib first versus core? Should this? And it's all this stuff that doesn't have anything to do with replacing the design of Bartik.
But I do want to raise that I think it's not necessarily bad that these comments come up. I think it's better that they come up than much.
Well, what's bad is the words they're used to describe, because it's really burning people out, and also it's making people feel not nice, basically, the way in which this conversation is taken out. I don't think it's a problem to raise that there are implementation details we need to work out, because that's just factual, and that's fine. But the conversation has definitely moved beyond factual and gotten into like emotions and stuff.
Yes, which is typical for all of these types of discussions, sadly.
Yes, but so why I'm raising this to this group is not that I want more people involved in an overly emotional conversation necessarily, but more so that you've had some success in the past, for example, with the 7 theme redesign and just in general, everything this team touches on design, and everyone has an opinion about that maybe someone would want to, provide some prudent next steps to these folks to try and, get them out of this rut that they're in. Because otherwise, what I'm worried about is this is going to get to 150 comments. Everyone's going to walk away from this steaming crater, and then this thing is never going to happen, which would be sad. So, thoughts?
Yeah, that is the bad thing. We've already shied away a lot of potential designers because we can't point them to this. Yeah. What I suspect maybe is what keeps people going yes but no but is that even if we start with a visual design, a visual approach, just figuring out colors, typography, etc., does not mean we do not understand that this is about a component-based design that we need to deliver. If I were the same, I could be offended that they don't understand that we, of course, understand that this is about something that needs to be delivered as a component-based design. Well, one way, so maybe pointing to the 7 style guide proposal would be a good reference, at least, for people to understand that we kind of know what we're proposing to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also think it will help because all of the other initiatives have come from like. I know Laurie has reached out to you, Angie and Dries, before to consider like having some type of like committer direction on this because it is one of those highly contentious issues.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we talked about this like months ago already, and I think that would be helpful.
I did try in comment number I don't know what to sort of like pull it back a little bit, but also like this is like that was comment 72, and people are like, oh okay, I hear what you're saying, but fuck you, blah 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 blah. Oops, I can't say honest, but anyway, yes, it did not actually help, and Gabor also tried, and so.
So there's two things, right? There's like guiding the discussion and setting direction, and I think at some point that like we need to set direction more so than guiding, because I don't think the community itself will kind of come to a conclusion as to the best approach.
But I guess me as a non-designer, even though I'm a core committer, I don't feel like that's my place to tell designers how to design. I feel like what I would want to see is a group of designers who are passionate about this issue getting together and saying, this is what we want to do. But right now, I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot of engineers arguing with one another over what they want to do. It doesn't seem to actually be about the design at all, which is frustrating to many people in this issue.
So I don't think we should hope for the emergence of designers in this issue. I think it's properly scaring them away, and they're not in the issue queue anyways.
Agreed.
I think the proposal for the process was to actually reach out to designers to see who was interested and who has like a skill set that's a good match with what we need for Drupal. So it was more of an outwards process. I think this was by large more informing the community that this is something that we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the discussion about implementation I think was bound to happen. But it looks like there's quite a few people in the process that understand it's like design first, which obviously scares off some of our developers. But I don't know. Like I think with 7, what helped is that it was very clear that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And here that isn't the case, which is, I mean, if you don't want to give that kind of like guidance, that's fine. But then this is something that will be part of the process. Like that this is part.
I guess it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? It's like I would love to say, although I'm not really empowered, it really needs to be Dries who says this, but I would love to say, yes, we absolutely need a new front-end theme in core. It's been too long. That would be fantastic. But when I see this happening, when we're still in the process of deciding, yeah, Bardic looks too bad, like that terrifies me. You know what I mean? So I would much rather bless an existing team that's functional than I would try and pull an initiative out of this mess. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, to be honest, even that feedback is very helpful, at least to Laurie, to be honest, because right now he hasn't had any of that type of feedback. So.
I've given him feedback like that in the Google Doc that he sent around, so he's... But I don't know, we have a call scheduled in a couple weeks or something for us all to discuss it a little bit more.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm just kind of worried that this is going to be super contentious. Like everyone will have an opinion,
yeah.
And the best way going forward is to actually just like choose a way forward rather than hoping that it will emerge from the community. Because I think that's to me at least it's clear that the community doesn't have a good like process for moving forward on issues like this.
But I guess the last time this was done, like this was really done, there were two methodologies that went around. One is Acquia hired Mark Bolton and said, you're making an admin theme, and Dries said, unilaterally, this is going into core.
Right.
So that's one approach. I don't know anyone who has a budget to actually hire a designer, but that is definitely the least offensive way to do it in terms of like, you know, design, spec work, this kind of stuff. However, it is the least democratic way of going about it because you empower one organization to pick the designer of who they want and pay them, and basically that client or that designer is the client of the organization. It's not a client of the project, blah, 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 blah. There's all kinds of stuff there. The other way it was done is we had this horrible, like, I don't know what you call it, arena of duke it out between 3 different themes in Contrib, and we blessed the one that we thought was the furthest along, which ended up being Bardic, and ended up not being Corolla, and then not being, I can't remember what the other one was.
Busy.
So
and that burns people out as well. So I don't think we've cracked the code on how to do this properly.
Yeah, and the latter was a real death march, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, like what do you propose, Angie? Because I feel like the proposal is like trying to find a way in between.
The safest thing in my mind is probably a bunch of people to work on this in Contrib, just as Contrib themes without any special ideas about that. And then for, say, 6 months or a year from now when there's lots of lovely themes in Drupal 8, for Dries to say, okay, we want a new initiative in Drupal 8, it's called Design, we want to pick the best Contrib theme and get it into core. And then choose from the already existing themes. Don't have people make new themes in the vain attempt to get something into core. That's probably the most non-controversial, non-horrible way of doing it. But then you're going to get whatever the best theme is that someone gave away for free, which is probably not going to be as good as you could get if you actually paid someone or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Gabor, do you have thoughts? You're very good at these contentious soul-sucking issues.
Well, I think our new process would be to bless a few people to make the decisions, and then everybody else needs to shut up and to accept that.
But how do I know Lowry's the right person to bless that decision? Because I don't know what Lowry's design skills are like. I don't know who he has in mind. But you know what I mean? It's like that doesn't really make sense to me.
So the process includes checkpoints for telling that, so that the first and the high-level plan would be blessed, and then et cetera, and then gradually the committers would understand if they blessed the right team with the right goals or not.
But then we have to demote someone. That sucks.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if the team does have a designer, that makes more sense? Because I think the team that we chose didn't have a designer for the purpose of finding one that is like willing.
But so I am aware of, like, say, Tiffany Ferris's ability to go and evaluate a bunch of different designers and pick one that's decent. I don't know Lowry's track record here. So it is odd.
That's not Lowry, right? It's Lowry, Boyan, and Christina.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But you know what I mean? It's like I haven't seen the output of that. Maybe it's fine. Like, you know what I mean? I guess,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, I don't really know if that matters, but okay, yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I just like, I don't, like, if I were on this team, I wouldn't know the first thing about finding a designer, right? Like, if we're picking a team to pick a designer, then we should pick people who have a track record of choosing designers that are great, you know? And in the community, at least, Tiffany Ferris is the only one I know who's done it. And maybe you all have done it professionally, and that's lovely, you know, so then we can go there. But, like, or maybe the solution to this is that the team comes with the set of design criteria or something that's like, this is how we're going to choose a designer. Maybe that's better, because then we can look at that criteria and be like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense. Or it doesn't, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like asking to... I feel like what's being asked of is, like, first say that you want a new theme in core in Drupal 8, not in Drupal 9. And secondly, bless this team of people that you know work hard and are very proficient at what they do, but who have never, like, necessarily done this sort of an undertaking before. And then third, sign on to whatever plan they might develop, even if it's potentially really awful from a spec work design point of view. You know what I mean? And also don't give them a budget. You know what I mean? It's just like, shit. You know what I mean? That's just like a lot.
I mean, to be honest, these sound like the same insecurities you have with most initiatives when they start out. Like, apart from obviously Dick's initiative,
But see, Dick's initiative is great because we're blessing an existing team.
I know, but it's seriously the only one that had like that.
It's a special fairy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. WYSIWYG and Core had a team behind it, right? Outside In has a team behind it that have already, like, doing work and stuff. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I feel like, I guess what you're asking from me is what I would need in order to feel comfortable giving this a sign-off from a product management point of view.
Pretty much.
And I guess what I'm saying is I need more than what I've got, which is what I've got is a list of people who I like a lot and are very smart about this and are passionate about this, which is great. Those are very good components to have in this. But I need more than just a list of stuff that team has to do. I feel like I need the team to start doing something on that list and then show a track record, I guess, first. And trying to think of what is the best, easiest thing that doesn't suck up a lot of time from your perspective. I think before we go anywhere with this, though, we need to talk to Dries and see if Dries wants a new theme in core. Because if he doesn't, that kills the entire thing right there. Right. And if he does, that's great. But Dries is really going to need to be very involved in this because Dries is like the product owner, right? So he like owns the whole thing. And he's going to have a lot of opinions about the design and how it looks and how it works and everything else. And he's going to be your client, really.
Right, so this is our new process that we want to validate the thing on the idea level first, on the one-sentence idea level, and then
exactly.
Forward.
And so what's challenging about it is that the idea level is just, let's put a new theme in core. But there's not designs to choose from.
No. The challenge is update the visual, the first impression that people get from Drupal 8.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think
you know.
If we get some kind of, I mean, it's very important for Dries to be involved, for sure. I think for the team to move forward, I think definitely the first step would be product level sign in on the idea of having a new design in core, and whether that what the process then looks like is probably the next step. I think there was a proposal, and we need to review it then and look at parts that you're unsure about or things that we want to change. That's fine. But if we don't have the initial approval on the ID, then we shouldn't really move forward. That's the whole idea of the new process, right?
Right, but I guess, but it'd be like if I came to you, Boyan, and I said, so we want to do this thing called Outside In, and I can't tell you what it's going to look like, and I can't tell you how it's going to work, and I can't even really tell you like how long it's going to take, but it's going to be awesome, and this is the general idea, is that it's going to let people configure stuff from the front end. Like, would you be able to sign off on that?
But that's what we signed off at
That's
with
what
the
we-
outside-in thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, you signed off on mock-ups that were usability tested and like had a patch going. Like you still haven't really signed off on it. You know what I mean? It's like it's been a multi-month process to try and get that. And so I guess what I'm asking for is like something a little more concrete, even if it's not designs, even if it's just like here's some websites that look like kind of what we're going for here or something. You know what I mean? It's like because I don't know.
Yeah, but that's okay. Well, let's maybe not do all of that in this hour. But it doesn't make sense for me. Like you're already saying, like I can't judge design, and then it doesn't make sense to come with designs and say like judge designs, because that's the whole point, is to bring together a team that can judge designs and can actually help make a designer succeed in the community. So I don't know.
I guess what I'm saying is like I just need more meat in the proposal, so I have some idea of the outcome that I'm going to get. Even if it doesn't have to be like the site's going to look like this. It can just be like when we say modern design, we mean this screenshot of whatever site, or this, as in like these types of specific things. And maybe that's not doable, but I just feel like I can sign on to an idea that's like make Bartik look like make the out-of-box thing look better in Drupal. That's like anyone could sign on to that, but the devil's in the details there. You know what I mean? There's a lot, and then what I would hate to see happen is say, yeah, I sign off on that, and then you're like, great, we're going to do it this way, and be like, well, I don't sign off on that, and then it's like, oh, well, fuck you then, It's just like we don't want to cause a whole thing. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to this, but I don't know if I'm making any sense too, because I feel like I'm trying to strike a really happy middle ground where it's like I don't want you guys to do 40 hours worth of work and start down the process of doing a thing.
It's just so there's a few things that are like when it comes to design processes that so the digital brief or the design brief that you provide, like generally goes in on like principles, but it doesn't detail anything that could restrict the creativity. So it's similar to how we started with, for example, the 7 style guide kind of work. Is there was already a style, but I mean I'm not sure how that went, but I doubt that Dries briefed Mark in saying like, no, we should use this tone of color, or
I was thinking a yellowish grey.
No. And that's not really what I'm after. I don't know how to explain what I'm after.
Okay.
I literally do not know what you have in mind for like how you will know you found a good design.
Portfolios.
Right. So I think if it's still a question, if at all we would need a new design or visual look for how to approach.
Let's get ideas here.
The one sentence question that we would need to validate before we go into any other.
Yeah.
Go to spend time discussing it and do work to explain it further. So if that one sentence is in question, then we need to answer that question first.
So the one thing that's in question for me on that sentence is, I don't disagree that Bartik is dated and all that, but the rationale given in the issue summary is because Drupal 8 looks visually identical to Drupal 7, and therefore people don't realize the power that's there. And so the idea is that somehow we can get through this process in a year, and we can have new visual design in 8.4. But then, like, what does that mean for 9? Right? Because then we did all of this work to get a new thing into 8.4, and then 9 ships 6 months later, say, or a year later, and now we have exactly the same problem. So I guess one of my questions is targeting 8 the right version for this thing in the first place? And maybe so. It's just that was the one question I raised, is like, do we have to then reboot this entire process again in a year and a half?
Yes.
Yeah, all the trends and the modern design will be different in 3 years from what it is now, so yes.
Well, not in 3 years, in a year and a half.
Well, we reboot it in a year and a half, and we work on a year on it again, and then it will be released in 3 years.
Well, no. So what I'm positing here is we start on this today. We managed to somehow get a new beautiful theme into Drupal 8.4, which is next October. And then by 8.4, we're starting to get itchy, and we're like, we got to have a 9 version. So we shipped 9.0 in March of the following year. But now 9 looks exactly like 8 because we just put this new theme in core. So it's like, and then do we start the process all over again 6 months later, spend another year doing a new design? Like, that's a thing that's sort of up in the air for me. And maybe the answer is yes. Maybe inside of the product, we want to make sure that every major version ships with a visually distinct theme, because that's what WordPress does, right? And in that case, that's fine. But then we should really spend some time streamlining this process so that, like, it is not this huge lift which involves people literally fighting with one another about Bootstrap. So, like,
I think once we know that we are 6 months out of releasing Drupal 9, we can decide to not release the new theme in Drupal 8 and just put it on hold for Drupal 9 if it's 6 months. And if it's a lot more time, then I think we'll obviously release it because then we'll have time to work on something else in between.
And it's experimental, right? So we'll go experimental first.
No, the proposal said it would be the default theme.
Right, eventually.
In 4. So that's
in a next point release, not in the first.
In the first one.
Yeah. So I think the proposal was we'd have a new experimental theme by 8.3, which would be February, I think. And then we would have the thing stable and default by 8.4, which would be October.
Okay.
Seems very aggressive to me, but if people think that can happen, that's... You know.
In terms of time, should we also look at the other issue? Because that's close to going in.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I will try... I don't know what the right place to comment about this is. I'll try to provide a summary of what I said. But I feel like I already said all of the stuff I said on this call in that Google Doc, but if I need to see it in a different way...
Yeah, I think it's maybe worthwhile to have that meeting with Laurie and to out the concerns. I think that's probably most useful. I mean, Google Doc comments are always hard. Like, you know, come across.
It is true. Okay. Anyway, so I'm sorry. I'm really, really, really trying to get on board. It's just there's some big red flags, and we just have to work through them, and it's going to be fine. So,
okay, yeah. Emphasis that we should work through them.
Well, yeah. Or we should decide that WebChick's crazy and it doesn't matter, which is also fine and valid. I think the next steps would be, 1, we need to make sure Dries is looped in on this and he's voiced an opinion. I have a call with him tomorrow, I think, so I can try and get that. I'll at least make sure this is on his radar, because I don't know for sure that it is yet, and I'll make sure that he, you know, says to me at least what he's thinking. Hopefully I'll try and get him to post in the issue queue itself. Because that would help, I agree. Because right now people are spinning circles because they don't know. And I feel like I tried to help with that, but I don't have the right authority. Dries definitely has the authority.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this happens in a lot of these issues where there are certain people that kind of go rounds with comments. And it's just happening again. So, I mean, I'm generally not that concerned when those people do their rounds. Because it generally doesn't affect direction. But it's definitely... like at least worthwhile to discuss whether the idea itself of having a new design in core is worthwhile, because that's the very basis of everything else.
Yeah, that's the very basis, and then I think everything else ends up being implementation details. I think the other thing, though, you asked for is blessing on the team.
No. I just want blessing on at least the idea, because otherwise there's no point in moving forward, I think.
Right. Okay. So let's try and get that between now and next meeting, and we'll see how that goes.
Next meeting is tomorrow morning.
Yeah, well, okay.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So then there's this outside-in issue. So one of the commit blockers for this is getting a list of follow-ups. So I did a bunch of updates to this kind of in the spirit of the Workbench issue, since that is a experimental feature that did actually make it in, so I thought that might be a good one to do. So at the top of the down under the heading proposal roadmap, I've got required sign-off before commit, and I've got product manager, release manager. Oops, I got release manager twice, so let me fix that. Anyway, framework manager, that should say, release manager, and subsystem maintainers, which would be you folks. So I know one thing that was definitely in both the release manager and the subsystem maintainers buckets was list of required follow-ups. So I kept the kind of bulleted list of required must-have, should-have underneath the individual elements of the features, because at least for me that's useful, like to know that this is what's left before this is done, this is what's left before this is done. And on the table above that, I made a required before stable release heading, and then this has all of the follow-ups I'm aware of that we talked about, as well as one like Catch brought up, making sure that this works with the workspace UI. There's a bunch of existing technical debt we accidentally uncovered while we were working on this feature. Like, for example, contextual links have some kind of client-side cache that doesn't get cleared properly, some other things like this. And then it could have around the user link. So I guess it's kind of hard to read and talk at the same time. So I don't know if you want, and I'm sorry I didn't get this done before, just like right before this meeting. I'm going to fix a couple things here. But I guess, first of all, is this kind of the level that you were looking for?
Yeah, this is great.
Oh, great. Okay. And then what I did, there were 5 bullet points from whenever we did that review meeting. I think that was like 2 weeks ago. But I basically consolidated 2 into 1 because into this one issue that's like the designs have to look like the mocks, because right now they don't at all. It's just like a white. It's a very Bartik-looking sidebar. It's like white with serif fonts and everything. The reason that was done is because we felt that getting it to look like the mocks requires kind of involving a whole bunch of people to figure out what's the best way for that to happen. You know, because the way Kevin was going about it was like this enormous CSS reset that reset everything in the entire world, and that did not seem like the optimal thing to do. So we wanted some more time to kind of look at that and see how it works. So the patches that exist now is functional, but it is not pretty. And I think Boyan pointed out on the last time we reviewed this that, you know, part of the whole thing about this is it needs to be pretty, right? Because that's like part of the whole appeal of this thing. So we have properly style the outside and sidebar here, and I got a before and after, you know, screenshot there. There were a couple of issues we had spun out to discuss more about the quick edit feature, and initially we were planning for those all to be separate issues that got combined, but instead we did one big patch. So this one and this one, oops, I've sort of repurposed as like finalize the designs of these things. So we know we've got something shippable in terms of experimental module, and the idea is like we get that out in front of people, and then based on user feedback we can then go back and refine these things and make them something that everybody is happy with, that Kevin's happy with, that you guys are happy with, etc. I also spun off this issue. This is about the fact that right now in the simple block, so not the menu block and not the branding block, that the quick edit box that comes out is really limited. It's basically just the title of the block and then a checkbox to display the title or not, but it doesn't include visibility settings, it doesn't include region selectors and things like that. And I think one thing we talked about is we need to have a broader discussion about whether or not that makes sense. Like, do we really think that setting block visibility is something that is not an 80% case and it does belong behind a click, or if that is something we should try and surface, and if we do, we need to do some design work on that. And then I also spun off this one about reconciling the many forms of editing stuff. So we have the edit tab, we have edit on contextual links, we have quick edit on contextual links. Now we have the edit button in the toolbar, which engages editing mode, and then stuff around that too. So we got a bunch of things there that we have to kind of work through. And then I guess I could make an issue for this, but so Catch brought this one up. This is the workflow initiative in like 8.5 or something has a plan to do a full workspace preview with workspace UI. And he wanted an issue spun out to make sure that we do some exploration around how those two things work together, but it's a little tricky because that right now is vaporware. It doesn't actually exist. It's a thing that they want to do. So I'm not sure exactly how to handle that. So for now, I just itemized it as a should have, but maybe that needs to be must have. I don't know. And then the rest of these are all existing things, other than the multiple scroll bar issue, which was spun out. So I think that's everything that I know about. But if I'm missing something, please let me know. And you said this is about the right level of detail that you're looking for? Anyone? Am I still here? Oh. Okay, yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. Yes, looks great. I have to go through it.
Yep.
I was out for a couple of weeks, so I need to set aside some time to review it.
Okay, no worries.
But yes, thank you.
No worries. Yep. Sorry it took so long. I've had a lot of travel on my end.
Yeah. Once there was this tweet about Brussels, and then hey, United States. So
It's like Brussels to Iowa, and then I'm going to Seattle, and now I'm going to Midwest. Anyway, there's a lot of silly things happening in my life.
looks like you're back on the old schedule.
Yeah, pretty much. Just the month of April. Oddly, I don't know. Cool.
Okay.
All right, well, then that's all I had. I just wanted to let you know I did that and ask you to maybe look over it in the next couple of days.
Yes.
I'm going to, if it passes your sniff test, I'm going to ping Jess also to review it from a release management point of view. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want to bother her if it was like, you guys were like, no, F this is crappy.
So I just wonder, what's the timeline on getting it to commit? Because I thought it was like super close already.
It seemed to be pretty close, but then Catch posted a review which required some reworking of some of the internal stuff. We're still planning for it to be ready sometime this week, so that's the hope anyway.
Cool. Like I don't fully understand all the deadlines. Like, so beta target is like an extension of your deadline. What's the final deadline now?
I think the final deadline. Hold on, I'll look at this. Where is that? It's like core release cycle or something? I can never remember these dates. Yeah. So if you go to release cycle overview, this page, it tells you that beta 1 is released August 3rd and RC1 is released September 7th. So the technical final deadline would be September 7th, but we don't want to push it nearly that long. Because I think basically any beta targets that don't look like they're ready to go by, say, the end of this week or very early next week are probably not they're probably gonna get pushed to 8.3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the second beta is next week, right?
The second beta doesn't have a date because the way Jess talked about it, it's kind of fuzzy. It's like, I think the core committers are meeting this week to discuss, like, kind of go through the beta targets and figure out where they're all at. And then we'll kind of make a decision based on how that review goes, on whether the beta is the following week or maybe they push it to more like the end of the week or something like that. So, so there is no date set for the second beta yet, but it will be sometime in the next, say, 2 weeks.
I think for the next release that we do, 8.3, it might be interesting to see if we can simplify or do something with this process, because it seems a little bit like pick and choose which ones get through and like all that kind of stuff, which is, I mean, fine.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit weird.
Yeah, and I think it's like one of them got, like, content moderation was strategically important. That was like part of an initiative, so I think that's why that one got chosen. Outside in, similarly, it's like Dries feels this is very strategically important. And also, without those two patches, 8.2 doesn't have a lot of like really like whiz bang wow in it, and so I think part of it's a product management decision too, to like, you know, make sure there's enough in 8.2 to compel people to upgrade to it. Because 8.1 was very much like a maintenance release. Like, other than Big Pipe, we didn't really have anything in there that was like, wow, cool, you know. So I think that was part of it. For 8.3, though, we already know the deadline ahead of time. It's going to be, what does it say? January 30th will basically be feature freeze for 8.3. So anything that we've got on the go that did not make it into 8.2, we can definitely target for that. And we've got another, what is that, like 4 months or something to do that work? So, hold on, I can't add. It's August. No, like 5 months to do that work. So that should be pretty cool. I would love to see some media stuff happen in 8.2. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, the beta targets were very, very limited, and they were only things that were kind of big features that people would really like, or things that, due to circumstances outside their control, could not be ready in time. So one of the beta targets, I believe, is this one that was blocked on TestBot being upgraded to a certain version of Phantom.js. So it was like their patch was ready, but their tests were not because of issues that were outside of control. But I think there's only like 5 beta targets or something. There's not many.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fine. It's just something at least to get more clear for the next time, I think. Because we're doing smaller releases also should mean that our process should be more simple and not the same form as our long releases, because then that does not.
All right. So that's what I've got. Sorry?
All right.
Oh, right. Thank you, guys. Okay. Christian is giving up his boardroom, so I think that officially means we're done with our call.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.